The email arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, buried between spam and overdue bills. I almost deleted it. The subject line looked like another scam. Exclusive employment opportunity, Vatican City. But something made me click. 3 weeks later, I was on a plane to Rome, still not quite believing it was real. Me, Marco Rossi, a 28-year-old janitor from Newark who'd been cleaning office buildings since dropping out of college, had somehow landed a job at the Vatican. Not just any job, night custodian for the Sistine Chapel itself. The pay was absurd, triple what I made back home plus housing. When I'd asked why they chose me during our brief Skype interview, the stern-faced Monsignor had simply said, "Your application showed particular qualities we require." I hadn't even remembered applying. The first sign something was off came at the airport. While other passengers wrestled with luggage and taxi drivers, a man in a black suit held a sign with my name. He didn't speak during the entire drive, not even when I tried making small talk about the weather. Just drove through Rome's chaotic streets in silence, finally stopping at a nondescript door in the Vatican walls. "Through here," he said, his only words, and handed me an envelope before driving away. Inside was a key and an address, a small apartment 5 minutes' walk from St. Peter's Square. The flat was sparse but clean, with a note on the kitchen table. "Report to the Sistine Chapel at 11:45 p.m. Use the service entrance. Father Benedetti will meet you." That first night, I arrived 15 minutes early, eager to make a good impression. The Vatican at night was eerily different from the tourist-packed maze I'd visited years ago. Empty corridors echoed with my footsteps. Security lights cast long shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them. Father Benedetti was ancient, possibly the oldest person I'd ever seen still walking. His hand shook as he led me through a series of locked doors, each requiring a different key from the massive ring on his belt. "You read the employment contract, yes?" His English was heavily accented but clear. "Of course, Father." He stopped walking and turned to face me. In the dim light, his eyes looked almost black. "No. Did you read it? Every word?" I hadn't, actually. It was 40 pages of dense legal text. I'd skimmed it, signed where indicated. The money was too good to risk losing over fine print. Father Benedetti sighed. "Americans. Always rushing." He pulled out a small leather journal from his cassock. "These are the rules. You follow them exactly, or you don't come back. Understand?" "Yes, Father." "No. You don't understand, not yet." He pressed the journal into my hands. "Read this before you begin. Every word. Your predecessor. He did not follow the rules." "What happened to him?" Father Benedetti crossed himself. "We pray for his soul." Then he left me standing alone outside the chapel's service entrance, holding the journal and a ring of keys that felt heavier than they should. I sat on the stone steps and opened the journal by the light of my phone. The first page was written in multiple languages: Latin, Italian, English, and others I didn't recognize. The English section began, "Night Protocol for the Sistine Chapel, established 1512, revised 1743, 1889, 1962, 2019. These rules are not suggestions. They are not superstitions. They are survival." My hands were already trembling as I turned the page. Rule 1. Enter only when the bells of St. Peter's toll midnight. Count the bells carefully. 3 tolls mean proceed. 4 tolls mean wait 1 hour. 5 or more tolls mean leave immediately and do not return that night. I checked my phone. 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes. I stood, keys ready, and waited. The first toll came exactly at midnight, deep and resonant, seeming to vibrate through the stones beneath my feet. Then the second, then the third, then silence. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The Sistine Chapel at night was nothing like during visiting hours. The absence of tourists made it feel larger, more alive. Emergency lighting cast everything in a pale, ghostly glow. The famous frescoes seemed to watch from above, and I had to force myself not to stare at them. I found the cleaning supplies in a closet marked with a simple cross. Modern equipment, a floor polisher, microfiber mops, specialized cleaning solutions. At least that part was normal. Rule 2. Begin at the altar and work backward toward the entrance. Never turn your back on the altar once you've begun. This made the work awkward. I had to walk backward while mopping, constantly checking over my shoulder. But I managed, falling into a rhythm. The floor was surprisingly dirty for a sacred space. Dust and strange dark stains that required extra scrubbing. Rule 3. Between 1 o'clock and 1:15 a.m., you must stop all work and stand perfectly still. Close your eyes. You will hear footsteps. Do not open your eyes until they pass. He does not like being observed. At 12:55, I set down my mop and stood in the center of the chapel, eyes squeezed shut. The silence was absolute. Then, at exactly 1 o'clock, I heard them. Footsteps. Slow, measured bare feet on marble. They started at the entrance and moved toward the altar. As they passed me, the temperature dropped so suddenly I could see my breath when I risked a quick peek through barely opened eyelids. A figure in white robes glided past, face hidden beneath a deep hood. Where its feet touched the floor, frost spread in perfect circles before melting away. I squeezed my eyes shut again and didn't open them until 1:16. Rule 4. Every hour, on the hour, place a white candle before the Last Judgment. Light it with the matches provided. If the flame burns any color other than yellow, leave immediately. At 2 o'clock a.m. I found the candles in the same closet, long white tapers that felt oddly warm to the touch. The matches were old-fashioned, the kind that struck anywhere. I placed a candle at the base of Michelangelo's massive fresco depicting the Second Coming of Christ and lit it. The flame burned yellow. I exhaled in relief. Rule 5. Do not look directly at the ceiling between 3 o'clock and 3:30 a.m. This is when they move. This rule terrified me more than the others. The ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, God giving life to Adam, the prophets, the scenes from Genesis, was the whole reason people came here. Not looking at it felt wrong, sacrilegious even. But at 3 o'clock a.m. sharp, I kept my eyes fixed on the floor. And that's when I heard it. A sound like rustling fabric, like hundreds of people shifting position at once. Whispers in languages I didn't understand. Once, I could have sworn I heard my own name. The urge to look was overwhelming. My neck ached from the effort of keeping my head down. Shadows moved across the floor, shapes that didn't match anything that should have been casting them. At 3:30, the sound stopped. I risked a glance upward. Everything looked normal. Except, was Adam's hand reaching slightly further than before? Were Eve's eyes open when they'd been closed? I looked away quickly. Rule 6. If you see a door that wasn't there before, do not acknowledge it. Continue working as if nothing has changed. It will disappear on its own. This happened at 3:45. I was polishing the floor near the back wall when I noticed it. A small wooden door that definitely hadn't been there earlier. Ancient-looking, with iron hinges that had rust stains bleeding down the wood. From behind it came a sound like scratching, like fingernails on wood, like something trying to claw its way out. I kept polishing, focusing on the rhythm of the machine, pretending I cued. Couldn't hear the scratching getting louder, more desperate. The doorknob rattled. Something whispered my name through the keyhole. When I finally risked another look, the door was gone. Only a faint outline on the wall remained, like a shadow burned into the stone. Rule 7. At 3:55 a.m., you must be outside the chapel. The dawn prayers begin at 4 o'clock, and you must not be present for them. I didn't question this rule. By 3:50, I was packing up the supplies, walking backward toward the exit as instructed. As I reached the door at 3:54, every candle in the chapel suddenly lit at once, hundreds of flames appearing from nowhere, casting dancing shadows on the walls. And in those shadows, I saw them. Figures that weren't quite human, weren't quite anything. They knelt in the pews, heads bowed, waiting. I fumbled with the lock, hands shaking, got it open at 3:55 exactly, and stumbled out, pulling the door shut behind me. From inside came the sound of singing, beautiful, terrible singing, in a language that predated Latin, predated human speech. The door grew hot under my hands. I backed away and ran. Father Benedetti was waiting at the end of the corridor, rosary in hand. "You survived your first night," he said, and I couldn't tell if he was surprised or disappointed. "Most don't." "What? What is all this?" I gasped, still catching my breath. "The chapel requires maintenance," he said simply. "But it is not just paint and stone that needs tending. There are older things, things that were here before the chapel, before the Vatican, before Christ himself walked the earth. We maintain the barriers. We follow the rules. We keep them contained." "Them? The ones who were worshipped here first? The ones who never left?" He handed me an envelope. My first night's pay in cash. "You may quit now if you wish. We will find another. We always do." I looked at the money. More than I'd make in a month back home. Thought about my mother's medical bills, my sister's college tuition. What happens if someone reacts the rules? Father Benedetti's face was grave. In 1978, a cleaner looked at the ceiling during the forbidden time. They found him the next morning, aged 50 years in a single night, his hair white as snow, speaking in tongues. He died within the week, and the one before me. He opened the door that shouldn't exist. We never found his body, but sometimes on quiet nights we can hear him scratching from the other side. I should have run, should have thrown the money back and caught the first flight home. But something held me there. Maybe it was greed. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something else. Something that had been decided the moment I clicked on that email. "I'll stay," I heard myself say. Father Benedetti nodded slowly. "Then may God have mercy on your soul." That was 3 months ago. I've worked every night since, following the rules, keeping my head down, trying not to think about what I'm really doing here. The money keeps coming. My mother got her treatment. My sister started college. But the rules keep changing. Last week a new one appeared in the journal, written in what looked like fresh blood. "Do not trust the other cleaners." The thing is, I'm the only cleaner. At least I thought I was. But lately, when I arrive at midnight, the floors are already half mopped. Fresh candles burn before the Last Judgment. And sometimes in the corner of my eye, I see him. Another me, in the same uniform, following the same route, always just out of direct sight. Last night I broke a rule. I looked at him directly. He had no face, just smooth skin where features should be. But he was humming while he worked. The same tune I always hum, the one my mother sang when I was young. When he noticed me watching, he stopped, turned that blank face toward me, and where his mouth should have been, the skin split open in a smile. "Your shift is almost over," he said in my voice. "Soon it will be my turn." "Your shift is almost over," he said in my voice. "Soon it will be my turn." I ran. Didn't finish cleaning, didn't wait for 3:55, just ran. But when I got home, my reflection in the bathroom mirror was wrong. Still me, but fading, like an old photograph left in the sun. Tonight is my last shift. I can feel it. The journal has one final rule, one that wasn't there before. Rule 13. When your replacement arrives, do not warn them. Do not speak to them. Simply hand them the journal and take your place with the others. The chapel always needs its cleaners, the living, and the ones who remember being alive. I'm writing this as a warning, though I know it won't matter. Somewhere out there, someone just received an email about an exclusive employment opportunity. They'll click it, drawn by the same force that drew me. They'll come to Rome. They'll take the journal from my hands tonight. And I'll keep cleaning, night after night, century after century, following the rules that keep the old gods sleeping. Just another shadow in the Sistine Chapel, mopping floors that will never be clean, lighting candles that burn with colors that shouldn't exist, trying not to remember what it felt like to be human. The bells are tolling. It's almost midnight. Time for my shift to begin. Time for my shift to end. If you ever visit the Sistine Chapel, look for me. I'll be the cleaner you see from the corner of your eye, the one who disappears when you turn to look, the one who's always been there, always will be there, keeping the darkness at bay, following the rules. Forever. Found in the apartment of Marco Rossi, who disappeared on September 15, 2024. The Vatican denies employing any night cleaners for the Sistine Chapel. His family continues to receive monthly payments from an untraceable source. The position has been filled. The bells are tolling. It's almost midnight. Bui, I'm not going to my shift. Not tonight. Not anymore. You see, I discovered something yesterday. Something the journal didn't want me to know. Something Father Benedetti has been hiding for centuries. We're not keeping something trapped. We're feeding it. It started when I noticed a pattern in the previous cleaner's handwriting. Every entry in the journal, going back 500 years, had the same subtle quirk in how they wrote the letter A, the same slight tremor in their T's, as if every single cleaner throughout history was the same person, writing with different hands, or the same thing, wearing different faces. I tested my theory last night. Instead of following rule number 6 about the mysterious door, I opened it. Behind it wasn't a monster trying to escape. It was a room full of mirrors, and in every reflection I saw the truth. All the cleaners, past, present, future, were me, are me, will be me. Not copies or echoes, but the same consciousness, split across time, cleaning the same chapel in an infinite loop. The thing beneath the chapel isn't trying to escape. It's already free. It's been free all along. It's us. We are it. Every night, we think we're preventing catastrophe by following the rules. But the rules aren't protecting the world from an ancient evil. They're a ritual, a feeding ritual. And what we're feeding is ourselves, our fear, our obedience, our humanity, slowly dissolved and absorbed into something vast and hungry that exists outside of time. Father Benedetti knows. He's known all along. He's not a guardian. He's a shepherd, guiding sheep to slaughter. And he's been doing it for so long that he's forgotten he was once a sheep himself. The Sistine Chapel isn't a prison. It's a mouth. And we're not cleaners. We're the meal, served fresh every night, forever. But I found a way out. Hidden in the journal, written in invisible ink that only shows under the light of a black candle, are the true rules. The rules for breaking free. The real rules, 1. To break the cycle, you must refuse 3 times. Once at midnight, once at the altar, once as you leave. Walk the chapel counterclockwise 13 times while holding your breath, the direction of unbinding, of unmaking. Speak your true name to every painted figure. They can only hold what remains nameless. At 3:33 a.m., stand in the exact center and close your eyes. You'll see the truth. Don't run from it. Take something from the chapel when you leave. A splinter, a drop of paint, anything. Make it remember you as you remember it. I'm going to try tonight. If this journal ends here, you'll know I failed. but if I succeed. November the 3rd, 2024, 5:00 a.m. I'm alive. I'm free. And I'm myself. The ritual worked, but not how I expected. When I spoke my name to the painted figures, they spoke back. They told me the real history of this place. The Sistine Chapel was built on a site of ancient sacrifice, where priests once fed human souls to something that existed between spaces. The Vatican didn't stop the practice, they institutionalized it, made it neat, clean, organized. Instead of bloody altars, they used beauty. Instead of screaming victims, they used willing workers who thought they were saving the world. Every tourist who gazes up at that ceiling feeds it a little. Every prayer strengthens it. But the cleaners, we're the main course. Night after night, we give it our memories, our identities, our souls, one mop stroke at a time. When I reached the center of the chapel at 3:33 a.m. and closed my eyes, I didn't see a monster. I saw a vast network, spreading beneath every church, every sacred site in the world, all connected, all feeding the same endless hunger. But I also saw the cracks, the places where people like me had broken free. Not many, but some, enough to matter. The thing screamed when I took a flake of paint from Ada's finger. It knew I was leaving, truly leaving, not just stepping out until the next shift. Father Benedetti was waiting outside, no longer looking human at all, just a collection of shadows in a priest's collar. "You can't escape," he said in a voice like grinding stone. "You'll be back. They always come back." "No," I said, holding up the paint flake. "I'm taking this with me, a piece of your prison, and I'm going to show others. I'm going to warn them." He laughed, a sound like breaking bells. "Warn who?" "No one will believe you. And even if they did, we'll just change the rules. New names, new faces, new stories. The harvest continues." He was right about one thing. Most people won't believe this, but some will. Some always do. And maybe, if enough people know the truth, we can starve it. Stop feeding our faith to something that turns devotion into food. I'm attaching the real rules to this journal. Share them. Spread them. If you know someone who's been offered a job that seems too good to be true, especially at a religious site, show them this. The Vatican will deny everything. They'll say I'm crazy, that I never worked there, that there are no night cleaners at the Sistine Chapel. They might even be right, in a way. The person who took that job, who followed those rules, that person doesn't exist anymore. Was eaten, digested, forgotten. But I remember. And now you do too. Don't go to Rome. Don't take the job. Don't follow the rules. And whatever you do, if you ever visit the Sistine Chapel, don't look too long at the ceiling, don't admire the beauty, don't let yourself be moved by the art, because it's not art, it's bait. And we're all fish, swimming too close to the hook. December 15th, 2024. Update. They found me. Of course they did. I've been running for 6 weeks, but you can't run from something that exists outside of time. I woke up this morning to find a new email in my inbox, not offering a job this time, just a single line. The position was never yours to leave. My reflection is starting to fade again. Food tastes like dust. I can feel myself being pulled back, not to the chapel, but to something worse, the space between shifts where all the cleaners who tried to escape are kept. But I've had 6 weeks. 6 weeks to spread the word, to hide copies of this journal, to plant seeds of truth. Others will find them. Others will know. If you're reading this, remember. The beautiful places hide the darkest truths. The sacred feeds on sacrifice. And sometimes, the only way to save the world is to stop trying to save it. My name is Marco Rossi. I was 28 years old. I existed. Remember that. Remember me. Remember us all. Because memory is the only thing they can't eat. Final entry. Found written in different handwriting. The position has been filled. The position has always been filled. The position will always need filling. But sometimes, rarely, someone remembers. Sometimes the meal bites back. Sometimes a cleaner becomes a warning. The cycle continues, but it's not perfect anymore. Every Marco who escapes leaves a crack. Every warning shared weakens the seal. Not the seal keeping something in, the seal keeping the truth out. Share this story. Make it fiction if you have to. Let people think it's just a creepy tale. But plant the seed. Let it grow. Because one day there won't be enough cleaners. One day the chapel will stay dirty. One day the hunger won't be fed. And on that day, we'll find out what happens when an ancient god goes hungry. Maybe it dies. Maybe we all do. Maybe that's the same thing. But at least we'll know the truth. At least we'll die free. At least we'll die as ourselves. Addendum. Found carved into the wall of an abandoned apartment in Rome. They recruit through beauty. They feed through faith. They harvest through routine. Break the pattern. Refuse the rue. Remember your name. Note, the Vatican denies all claims made in this document. The Sistine Chapel employs no night cleaning staff. There is no position to fill. There has never been a position to fill. Please disregard any employment offers you may receive. Report unusual emails to your local authorities. Do not go to Rome. Do not look for the service door. Do not follow the rules. Or just another beginning, in the endless cycle of shifts that never end, in a chapel that's always hungry, in a story that writes itself over and over again with different hands but the same trembling pen. If you've read this far, you're already part of it. Check your email. The bells are tolling. It's almost midnight somewhere.